This is Joe's hopper, originally called the Michigan hopper, popularized by Joe Brooks. That's why the name change. And it's an oldie but goodie. These days, the original wool is not used as much on the body. It's pretty much yellow poly yarn at this point. And let's get started. This hook is a Daiichi 1280 2X long dry fly hook. There's a Tiemco version 5212, I believe. This one's size 8. And the thread I'm using is 140 denier UTC tan. It probably should be brown, but I didn't have brown. These are red Hackle barbs. Red schlappen works fine. That looks a little long to me. It's got just a little bit of a red tail, not much of one. Let's bind it down right on top of the hook. Go all the way back. And on this one, I'm going to take a couple turns underneath the fibers. Or one turn underneath, anyway. This is a large hackle from a dry fly neck, brown, obviously. I'm going to trim the fibers off close to the stem, leaving just kind of a stubble. Also, I'm going to follow the taper of the feather when I do this. Now it's ready to tie in. Tying in on the far side of the hook, just something I like to do. This is going to serve as a ribbing. It's kind of a strange ribbing. It's similar to what Walt Deddy did on his coffin fly, fabulous coffin fly pattern that works to this day, as I proved a couple years ago on Penns Creek. This is just one hunk of yellow poly yarn. Haven't split it, haven't done anything. I'm going to tie this piece right on top of the hook. And it's very important that I get this dead on top. You'll see why here in just a sec. And I'm not doing a lot of niceties here. It's just a question of getting it bound down. We're going to pull a loop similar to what you'd see on a green weenie. And I want it to be about half the length of those red hackle barbs. Just about half. It's not critical. And it's important that this is dead centered and dead on top of the hook. Otherwise, the wing becomes incredibly difficult to mount later. If this is off to one side or the other, it's a problem. So I'm putting a couple turns behind it, and really locking it in here. And now I'm just going to wind this poly yarn the length of the body. But you have to be very careful getting this started, because you're gonna take it back just a little bit. And you want to make sure that you don't move that loop. If you do, it'll really adversely affect the mounting of the wing later. My friend Bruce Copeland, who lives out in Bozeman, His older brother Mike was friends with Joe Brooks. And Mike went out to Bozeman in like the late 60s, I think, and has been there ever since. An incredible fly fisherman, as the whole family. Amazing fishermen. And Mike knew Joe Brooks pretty well. Socialized with him, had him over for dinner, etc. Fished with him, and thought the world of him. Now I'm going to take the stubs of this hackle and just wrap it like a rib. I want to bind this down well. I'm fixated on the rear of the fly. I want to make sure the tail and the little loop are straight. And trim the stem. Now this next part is really important. The hackle on the sides needs to be trimmed flush. Not on top and bottom necessarily, but like right now I'm on the far side. Now you could use a whole hackle for this and let the fibers stick up on top and on the bottom if you so desired. They were tied like that. This is a more modern way of doing this one. I want to make sure I get all these little stubbles off of the sides. Otherwise, the wing becomes, it's very difficult to set the wing, get it situated. The wing is going to want to split anyway, so you just have to do everything you can think of doing to prevent that. Now I've just got the far wing, tying it in tips up. And then this is the near one. And these are slips taken from mottled turkey quills, similar to what you'd use for a muddler. Now, they can be different colors. It doesn't have to be this color. Use whatever color matches your hoppers in your area. Now we want to make sure, first of all, we want to tie this in very level. We don't want to have it starting out tilting up in the back because it'll tilt up anyway. So I want this very level, and I want it, ideally, I want the lower edges of these wings to be about halfway up the shank or halfway up the body. If I go too low, the feather will wrap around and split. Now, honestly, this wing winds up maybe a touch too high, but I can live with this. Bind everything down really well. And we're going to add some hackle right up front. And I've got a grizzly and a brown. The grizzly on my side. And you can do this any way you want. I just, it's a fishing fly. I just wrap them both at the same time on this one. But you can get as exotic as you'd like. Boy, I'll tell you what, Al Beatty, whenever he does hackle in a situation like this, like on a stimulator, he's got a method. I'm going to have to study it. Hackle's just super dense and just incredibly well done. By the way, I found one of the patterns for this on Steve Shallow's website. It's called Fly Fishing the Sierra. And it's a great website. Lots of fly patterns on there, tutorials. It's incredible. He spent 10 years putting this thing together. So definitely have a look at that site. I'll link to it below. This point, just binding it all down. I got one stray there. I'll pluck that out. And just do a whip finish. And this fly was a request from Colin Dannenberger, who's been a regular here from day one. I appreciate all the regulars, I'll tell you. Thank you. Trim that up and we'll have a look. I may take this out to Montana here at the end of the month, just for fun. See what I can get happening with this one. Fun to tie.